So your marriage isn't everything you thought it would be. Let me ask you, have you heard of the one flesh principle? This one little principle can radically transform your marriage. Stay tuned. Hey, my name's JR and welcome to My Marriage is Worth It, where we bring hope and joy to dead, dying, and boring marriages. If this sounds like you or something you can benefit from, go ahead and click the subscribe button and hit that notification bell and you'll be notified every time we post videos just like this one. In today's video, we're talking about saving your marriage with the one flesh principle. Outside of surrendering our lives to God, this is probably one of the most important things that helped us in our marriage. Until we understood this principle, everything that we did had minimal effects. But once we fully embraced it, everything else became so much easier. You see, it's all about mindset. In the book of Genesis, the Bible says, "For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and become united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh." One flesh. What a beautiful idea. You know, when you first got married, you were telling your future spouse in the world that you wanted to be together. You no longer wanted to live single lives. You were saying that you wanted to join your life, your ambitions, your joys and sorrows with another person. And the Bible says we will become one flesh. It doesn't say we should become one flesh. It says we will become one flesh. You see, when you got married under God, you became one flesh in His eyes. The problem is too many married couples still live like they're single. They have their own separate friends. They have their own separate hobbies. Many have their own separate bank accounts. I even know couples who go on separate vacations. Can you imagine that? Standing before your future spouse in the world saying, "I want to spend the rest of my life with this person. I just don't want to go on vacation with them." Really? Now, besides the obvious issues this singleness mindset can produce, there are many more issues that arise. It can cause even bigger problems when a couple has a disagreement. You see, many couples don't embrace the one flesh principle. They don't understand that they've become one flesh. So that when they have a disagreement, they don't see their spouse as an extension of themselves. They see their spouse as their enemy, as someone outside coming in against them. And friends, we need to understand our spouse is not our enemy. We are on the same team. I want you to really understand this, because you see, when you belittle your spouse, when you hurt them, when you say harmful things or do harmful things to them, you're actually hurting yourself as well. Because whether you know it or not, whether you accept it or not, you are one flesh. But when you embrace this principle, you'll begin to see your spouse and your marriage in a whole new light. You know, in recovery circles, there's a saying that goes like this. It says, "Hurt people hurt people." And what you need to understand is that you and your spouse are both hurting people. And when we are hurting, sometimes in our pain, we hurt one another. And we need to get off the battleground and we need to find some common ground. And we can find lots of common ground if we really look for it. I mean, I assume that you didn't marry a complete stranger who had nothing in common with you. So I love scary movies. Do you like scary movies?
No. I love Anna Green Gables. Do you like Anna Green Gables?
No. I like football, the Dallas Cowboys. Do you?
No. I love dancing. Do you?
No. You want to get married?
Yes.
But no matter what differences you may have, you both share some common ground in that you both have been hurt in this relationship. So now you have a choice. You can either point the finger and play the blame game, or you can continue to be a victim, or you can stand up and say, "No more. We are not enemies. We are lovers and friends. We are one flesh." And once you realize and accept that you and your spouse are one flesh, you will no longer see them as the enemy. And it doesn't matter what the issue is either. You will rightly see the issue, the problem, as the enemy instead of your spouse. But if you continue to see your spouse as someone who needs to be fixed, if you continue to fight your spouse instead of the real issue, you set the stove too high.
And you didn't read the recipe right.
Listen, it's not my fault, it's your fault.
It is not my fault, it's yours.
It's not my fault, it's your fault.
It's your fault.
If you continue to do these things, you will always be battling your spouse. You see, instead of fighting each other in our marriage, we need to fight together for our marriage. Now, I understand saying that we're on the same team is one thing. Acting like it is something altogether different. You see, it's easy to say we're on the same team, but when your spouse is yelling at you, do you feel like you're on the same team? When they call you all sorts of names and accuse you of things, Do you feel like you're on the same team? What if they've betrayed you? What if they've been unfaithful? What if they've been abusive? What if they've walked out on you? What if they give you the silent treatment? What if they're always belittling you? You know, when they act and look an awful lot like the enemy, do you feel like you're on the same team? If you're like most people, probably not. You probably feel like they're coming against you. You probably feel alone. You probably feel like no one understands you or what you're going through. You probably feel like a victim. But what we need to remember in the principle of one flesh is that we're both victims. If one spouse is hurting, we're both hurting. Now understand, this doesn't make what your spouse did right. We're not excusing them or the responsibility that they have. But we need to understand if one of you is hurting, then both of you are hurting. Hey, let me just say this. We're not talking about someone who's abusive. If you're in an abusive situation, you need to get out of that situation. You should never put yourself in danger. And if that's you, then you need to get some professional help to really deal with the situation. But many times when our spouse hurts us, it's because they themselves are hurting. But once you understand that you are one flesh, and you flip that switch and begin acting like you're one flesh, then everything else will fall in line too. Okay, so now it's your turn. Go ahead and post in the comments below. What is one thing that you're going to do this week to embrace the one flesh principle? And hey, if you want to know more or want to learn how to apply these principles to your marriage, go ahead and click the description for more videos and resources. Until next time, my marriage is worth it. Is yours?